Bill, you've just left that campus area. What was happening?
Ros, when we left, there were an estimated hundreds of students inside that university campus. The main entrance of the university was on fire. Every few minutes we were hearing quite sizable explosions. They were probably small blasts, things like Molotov cocktails going off, but they were coming not just from the entrance area, but you'd hear them from other parts of the campus as well. And we don't know how many students were in there. We're estimating hundreds because there were still hundreds left on that main street at the end of the night, just before police stormed in there, and those students raced into the campus. Now, we, a little while ago, were trying to get an update on whether or not there is any clearer picture. It's far too early to talk about the number of people injured. It's obviously still a very fluid situation inside that university, and police, when we left just minutes ago, police were still completely surrounding the area and blocking people from going in or out.
We are looking at live shots from inside the campus now, Bill. It seems all calm for the moment, but as you've been saying, protesters have been fighting back. Police have seemed increasingly heavy-handed with them. Are events now reaching a crisis point?
Well, police would argue that for the past 24 hours or so, every time they try to clear these major roads outside the university, they were hit by an absolute barrage of Molotov cocktails, and the students were producing these petrol bombs in huge numbers inside the university. They were also doing things like flinging rocks at the police from homemade catapults on the top terrace of the main building. So certainly it was a two-way battle, but when police were going in, their tear gas and their water cannon was not particularly effective. It wasn't until about 5:30 in the morning when they started shooting rubber bullets at the protesters, as well as another barrage of tear gas, that they were able to get control of those roads and force the protesters inside. There were, though, several signs that police are stepping up their actions. The first is that live rounds were fired in another part of Hong Kong last night, not at the university. Second of all, police announced every single person who they come across in that university area will be charged with rioting. And so that is a step up, including first aid, medical volunteers. We saw dozens of them arrested last night. And thirdly, we saw over the weekend the People's Liberation Army of China on the streets for the first time, but they were there clearing barricades. They weren't confronting the protesters. Either way, though, that could be a sign of things to come.
And how much support is there still among the general Hong Kong population, Bill, for the protesters?
Well, the interesting thing is there was a public opinion poll the other day, Ros, where people were asked by a university here, who do you blame for the escalation of the violence? 80% of people said the government and police. A smaller number said protesters. So this morning, for example, when we left the police cordon, and I'll just quickly tell you, when we left, we were searched by police and bailed up against a wall. This is something new. They are now really trying to crack down a bit more on the media's role in all this. But when we were finally released, there were some local residents angrily flinging bricks off some of those surrounding roads. They're very, very unhappy about the disruption, but they were confronted by other local residents who were supportive of the protesters. So despite all these crazy scenes we're seeing in Hong Kong, there is still quite a lot, probably the majority of Hong Kongers, who are broadly sympathetic to the movement.